Hello and welcome back to the Intuition Activation Podcast. I'm so excited that you're here and ready to join me for another episode. And this week, we're going to be taking a small break from intuitive development, intuitive development topic, and focusing on the different clairs. And instead, we're going to explore a topic that has come really front of mind for me lately. And this is a theme that I've been seeing in a lot of clients coming my way lately, but more importantly, actually, in the children of a lot of my clients lately. And so I wanted to share my take on this whole concept called earth angels and the angels that live among us. And so I'm really excited to dive into this topic. There's so much to explore here and what this means. And I want you to listen and as you're listening, decide if maybe you too are an earth angel and didn't even realize. But before we dive into today's topic, I do want to remind you that my intuition activation mini course is still up and available on my website. And you can use the promo code intuition, all caps, for 10% off that program. This is a little short, sweet, but powerful mini course to help you develop your intuitive abilities so that you don't have to wait for next week's podcast episode to figure out which Claire you are. You're going to dive in and learn about all of the different ways that you might actually be connecting with your spirit guides already and get a few exercises that you can continue to use every day when you want to get real and clear messages from your spirit guides without having to do a session with a spiritual medium like myself. So definitely head over to my website, jessicarachel.co/mini course, and grab your spot in the course using the code intuition, all caps, for 10% off of the course. Also, just for podcast listeners, if you do want to have a session with me, you would like me to channel your spirit guides for you, and you don't want to wait to figure it out on your own, I'm happy to do that. As of now, I am actually fully booked until the end of April and will be taking a short maternity leave for the month of May and June. So if you would like to book your intuitive develop or your spiritual guidance session with me, I am now opening slots for July. And again, just for podcast listeners, you can get 10% off your first spiritual guidance session with me using the same code, intuition, all caps. And I would hurry and go and book your spots for July because those are filling up quickly too. So definitely go and grab your spot so you don't have to wait until later in the year to get some messages from your spirit guides. And then finally, this podcast is also available on YouTube for those of you that are listening on a podcast platform. If you would like to see my face and make it seem like we're having a real conversation, see my face when I'm talking to you, then definitely head over to my YouTube channel at I am Jessica Rachel. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you never miss an episode when it comes out. That being said, let's move on to today's topics. The topic of earth angels. Are you an earth angel? What is an earth angel? And what is your purpose if you are one? And there's so much that there is to unpack about this topic. But the first thing that I should really say about earth angels or angels in general is that this is not the same thing as a spirit guide. So in the episode where I talk about spirit guides, we talk about this a little bit. So definitely go back to, I believe it's episode number 3, where I talk about what is a spirit guide and what is a spirit guide not. But a spirit guide is really sort of this being who lives in the spiritual realm, who's assigned to you. And their job really is to kind of help you stay on your path and purpose. An angel, on the other hand, also a being that lives in the spiritual realm, but they sit in a different realm than spirit guides, and they're not necessarily assigned directly to you. There's sort of this understanding that they're kind of like every angels, I guess is the way I would say it, where, similar to when, I can pray to God, for example, or the universe on one side of the planet, and somebody else can be praying to God simultaneously, and God is still answering and hearing the prayers of both of those people at the same time, simultaneously. And I'd like to argue that sort of angels have a similar sort of power. They're a little bit higher up, and and then there are angels that we can sort of see as being used for specific purposes, and we kind of call those archangels. And I'm going to definitely go deeper into sort of the role of angels from the spiritual realm in a different episode. And we can talk about the different roles of different archangels. And the one thing I would say is that when we do work with angels in this life, right, as they are watching us from above, I guess the only thing that you need to know for the purposes of this episode is that they'll only step into your life if your life is at stake for some reason, if your health is at stake, if there's a need for healing in some way. We sort of hear about these miraculous kind of healings happening, or these miraculous events where maybe you got hit by a car or rolled over by a car and you should have died in that moment, and it seems like, somebody pulled you out from under, or that you come out of the situation completely unscathed. Well, that is usually the work of angels. And, people who have these situations, who find themselves in these situations, will sometimes even say, a person came up to me and pulled me out. I felt an arm pull me up. And this is completely possible, but these are not the type of angels that I'm actually talking about today. That would actually be a spiritually embodied angel. So, an angel that's not actually in a physical body, that's living in the spiritual realm, who's acting upon, us in the 3D world and stepping in when necessary. So yes, when they come down, they will kind of appear as a person for that moment, pull you out and kind of disappear. And those are sort of the situations that we hear about sometimes, about kind of somebody rescued me and then they disappeared. Well, that was an angel, right? They were coming in and they were, fulfilling a quick purpose, saving your life, so to speak, and disappearing. And however, there is another type of angel that is actually becoming more common lately, or at least I'm noticing becoming more common lately, that many of us don't know exists. And this is called the earth angel. Now, there are two types of earth angels here, but in short, or in the umbrella definition, an earth angel is a human being, so a person living here embodied on the planet, who has the soul of an angel, or whose soul has previously experienced living in the angelic realm. And so, what do I mean by this? At first, when we think about our soul's sort of trajectory of a soul, we sort of think of, at least when we sort of subscribe to the understanding of reincarnation, our soul comes through onto the planet as a person. We have certain experiences, we pass away, we go up to sort of a liminal space and make decisions about what we want to do, and then we come back down and become a person again. And we kind of do that cycle over and over and over again until we sort of ascend spiritually, or learn all of the lessons, so to speak, or have all of the experiences that we feel our soul intended or needed to have in order to reach some sort of enlightenment, so to speak. And this is the case for most souls, right? And when we even talk about an old soul, that's the case, right? It's a soul who has come back for many, many, many lifetimes, and is nearing the end of having all of those reincarnations. Well, there is another type of soul that I want to describe today, which is that of an earth angel. And there, as I said, there are two types. And so one is that there is a soul who was a very old soul, who had the same trajectory that I just described. So many, many, many lifetimes, came back over and over and over again. And after they finished all of their incarnations, they sort of reached an enlightenment, so to speak. Well, what happens to that soul when they're done? When they're done reincarnating here on the planet? Well, they have a choice where they can go. Sometimes that soul chooses to become a spirit guide themselves. So they then go into a place where they are working directly with other souls still embodied here on the planet, and helping them sort of reach an enlightenment of some kind or ascend in some way. But another choice that they may choose to make is to go up to the angelic realm and spend some time there working as an angel. Or working is maybe not the right word, existing as an angel. And they can stay there for as long as they choose. Your soul really does have a lot of choice after and in between lives. And and most souls will either stay there, or switch spiritual realms from there. But some angels will kind of spend some time in the angelic realm and then kind of feel like, you know what, I feel that my help could be most potent or powerful if I come back down onto the planet. And so having already completed all of their lives, already ascended, already spent some time in the angelic realm, decide to actually give it another go and go back down and become a person again. And so, this is what we would call an earth angel, a soul that has had experience living in the angelic realm, who is now coming back down, hasn't been a soul here on the planet in a long time, possibly hundreds or thousands of years, and choosing to come back down to be here on the planet for a specific purpose, usually to help humanity in some way, usually to help people. And we'll talk more about what that purpose is. So, this is one type of earth angel. Another type of earth angel that we have is one that has never spent any time here on the planet. This is a soul that has always only ever been an angel. They've lived in the angelic realm their entire existence, and they are choosing to come down to the earth plane to either just experience what is it like to be a person. What does that mean? They've come here to play, they've come here to see what it's like, and possibly report back to the angelic realm what that means and what it feels like to actually experience being a person. And sometimes they choose to come down in again for a specific purpose. They kind of feel that they could be of more help or more use if they could physically contact and speak to and communicate with people by being a person themselves. And so these are the two types. One who is an old soul who ascended, chose to come back down after spending some time in the angelic realm. The other being an angel who'd never sort of been here on the planet, choosing to come down here for the first time. And we do, and while it is, I would say that earth angels, at least from my understanding, used to be a lot more far and few between, at least in my line of work. And I don't know if it's just that it's the type of souls who maybe seek out my type of work, right? Spiritual medium, who come to me. But it feels like lately more and more of these individuals are popping up here on the planet, and specifically children that are being born in the last 4 or 5 years or so. A lot of them tend to have these beautiful angelic souls. So I don't know if, the angelic realm is preparing humanity for something and they feel that more angels are needed physically present on the planet, or if there's just, an ascension of consciousness on the collective level, and maybe, there's just more space for souls who are like this on the planet, and so they feel more comfortable coming down and experiencing sort of the 3D realm, so to speak, or the earth plane, more so than they ever have before. So I couldn't tell you why specifically now we're seeing a lot more of them than we have before. But I do want to, that's why I wanted to kind of create this podcast episode, because maybe it's you and you didn't even realize that you have chosen at this particular time to come down from the angelic realm. And maybe this is the life that you have been living without even realizing it. And so I do want to sort of outline how you might know if you're an earth angel, because all of these souls, earth angels, whether they're the first or the second kind, all really have a few very common traits. So the first two are sort of ones that allow me to recognize if you are an earth angel very quickly. I don't know if this would be so helpful unless you have actually had a session with a spiritual medium, but I'm going to line them out. I'm going to outline them anyways, because the first time right away, when I see a client, I will know if they are an earth angel because of the nature of their spirit guide. And so when I have a client with a session, right, we do a meditation, we call in their guides, and a spirit guide will show up. Well, for someone who's an earth angel, it's not a spirit guide who shows up, it's an angel. And this looks exactly like what you would imagine an angel would look like, right? They have the wings, they sometimes even have the halo, they usually wear long flowing white robes. And like I said, while we all have access to angels and angels are looking out for all of us, it is not common or likely that you would have an angel who is directly assigned to you as a quote unquote spirit guide. The only reason that this would come up is if you had previously existed in the angelic realm and you need this sort of line of communication to the angelic realm, you need something to remind you of who you really are when you're here on the earth plane. And so an earth angel will always have a spirit guide that is an angel. So not a spirit guide, but an angel looking out for them and making sure that they're fulfilling their purpose. More importantly, making sure, or hopefully making sure, that they don't forget who they are. And so they have an angel who's directly assigned to them and guiding them through their lifetime here on this planet, which is different than a regular soul who has a spirit guide. And so for me, I can see this right away. If an angel's coming down, okay, this is an earth angel. They've got an angel guiding them for some reason. The second thing that pops up right away when I channel for an earth angel and that I can identify them is really by their aura. Now, this is going to sound silly, but everybody does have a different sort of energy field that surrounds them, right? And those energy fields have or embody a specific color, and the different colors can sort of mean different things. But in my experience, it often sort of can sometimes can outline the trajectory that your soul has taken over lifetimes, and so where your soul has been, so to speak. And so if you come through, or when I channel for you, I can start to see your aura, and somebody who is an earth angel will have the most beautiful, it's kind of like a golden whitish light all around them. It feels like it's almost blinding. It's so bright. It almost feels like the way you would feel if you were bathing or staring into direct sunlight, right? Like it's goldish, it's white, it's warm, it's nurturing, it's soothing, it's comforting. And it just looks like there's golden white sort of all around them and filling up their whole body. And so when I see this come through, as soon as the client sort of walks in, I kind of go, oh, we've got an earth angel here. And so if you have ever meditated and started to see certain colors sort of while your eyes are closed behind your closed eyelids, and you start to see these colors, right? Maybe you're always kind of seeing gold or white, or it feels so blinding you can't actually make out any other visions when you're meditating, you might be an earth angel. Which is really cool. And of course, if you haven't yet developed your intuitive abilities to the extent that you'd like to yet, there are other defining traits of earth angels to help you identify if you or someone you know is an earth angel. And one of the unique blanket purposes of an earth angel, and we're going to talk a little bit more about their purpose in a moment, is that they are a healer, right? Angels in general, right? They, as I spoke about at the beginning, they're always sort of here to help the energy of the people here on the planet, to help heal us. They're only going to step in if your life is at stake or if miraculous healing is needed. And so, of course, an earth angel is going to embody or have or possess a lot of healing power, a lot of healing energy within them. So if you are the type of person who is really drawn to healing work, right? You feel called to heal others in some way. Maybe you're an energy healer or a massage therapist. Maybe you like to work with your hands. Maybe you feel that hands are very healing in some way. You just might be an earth angel. But the other thing that I should also mention is that whether you're drawn to the work or not, people do sense your aura around you, sort of in the same way that, how do I explain this? Kind of like when we see little babies or puppies or dogs kind of can sense when someone is a good person, right? Or someone that they feel comfortable around. And you'll see sort of babies reach to strangers that they've never known before, or dogs kind of come towards certain people because they can sense their good energy. Well, all of us have this intuitive ability, right? All of us can sense the warmth or the energy of an earth angel. And so when somebody is an earth angel, often they will find that people are drawn to their energy like moths to a flame. They feel like when they're in the presence of this person, it's the same way you would feel when you kind of step into a hot tub for the first time, or a sauna, where you just, all of your muscles just relax and you breathe a deep sigh of relief and you just want to go, in their presence, and you feel drawn to that because it feels good and you gravitate towards this person. Also, the people who are earth angels may notice that people feel so comfortable in their presence that even if they've just met this individual, they suddenly find themselves pouring out their entire life story or all of their earthly problems to this person because they feel, there's some part of themselves that senses that this person can help me, right? This person's going to understand me, nurture me, love on me in some way. And so you might be an earth angel if you experience that a lot. People feel a complete and unexplained comfort and warmth in your presence. They are sensing your aura. They're picking up on this about you, even if you don't know this necessarily about yourself. Um, and so, this is really important to know, right? This is a superpower that you have, which is really beautiful. There are some downsides of being an earth angel, but these kind of present themselves as identifying factors or traits that you may or may not be an earth angel. And one of those traits being is the knowledge that your soul has not actually spent any time here on the earth plane for at least a long period of time, if ever, right? So either you're a soul who was here on the planet but took some time in the angelic realm, and who knows how long it's been since you've actually been back down here embodied on the planet. And then there are other earth angels who've never been here on the planet before. And so, what these individuals tend to experience is a very heightened experience of what it means to be in a physical body. This is new to them and foreign to them. Even if it's not their first time, it's been a long time since they've had this experience. And so, these souls tend to be very sensitive individuals. They tend to experience sort of sensory overload, so to speak, as they're getting comfortable and used to being in a physical body again or for the first time. And so these are types of individuals where I would argue that they're not necessarily introverts, because many of the ones who I've met are not, in fact, introverts, but they do tend to experience certain senses at a heightened level. So maybe lights bother them more, or they're affected by different lighting more than others. They're affected by sounds a little bit more than others. They feel certain things kind of on their clothing a little more than others. So textures are really important to them. Um, maybe there's someone who really, like, they cannot wear a shirt if there's a tag on the back, right? That's going to really bother them, right? Anything that sort of involves, being embodied in having a physical body, that, where the senses are just on height, they're just heightened. Everything is on, times 10, everything's magnified for them because it's such a new experience, or a not long ago experience, right? And so, this is something sometimes people will describe themselves. There's like a category of people that's come through as an HSP, a highly sensitive person. So if you fall under the category of highly sensitive person, especially on the physical side of things, you too may be an earth angel, which is really cool. On the emotional side of things as well, you are highly intuitive. And so not only are you picking up on all of these extra sensory experiences, but you're also picking up on the emotions of others. You're quite porous, right? Your aura is literally wide open. You're constantly pouring beautiful, loving, healing energy outwards wherever you go. But on the flip side of that, you're also receiving energy from everybody else all the time. And so you're usually quite a very strong empath. You can feel the feelings of everybody else in the room at all times. And sometimes this can feel overwhelming, or in other cases, this can sort of feel like I'm feeling anxious, really anxious, and don't know why. Sometimes a lot of the times they're picking up on everybody else's energy and are kind of wondering why they're feeling a certain way, because it's not actually them. They're just reading the room or reading the energy of the people they've been around. And so this is a good sense that you might be an earth angel, is that if your aura is so porous, you're so highly attuned to everybody around you that often you're feeling possibly jittery or feeling a slew of emotions that are unexplained. They're not even yours, and usually they're not yours. And so when I do meet an earth angel, And this is the case for them, right? They're highly intuitive, highly sensitive, highly empathic. Spirit guides do give advice for these individuals to help you in this respect. And or an angel, I guess, their angel will say that it's really important for you that if you're sensing that this is you, that you are picking up on everybody's stuff all day long, you're feeling anxious all the time, or you're expressing emotions that you don't even know where they're coming from because you've picked up on them from other people, you need to create a really strong energy cleansing ritual throughout your day. And usually you want to actually bookend your day with this. So, what does that look like? Well, it can look like grabbing some sage or some Palo Santos first thing when you wake up and lighting it and using smoke to clear your aura, to cleanse it from anything that's not actually yours. Sometimes the angel will recommend that they light the sage or Palo Santos and use a feather to whisk the smoke all the way around your body, sort of to look like you're cleaning yourself with a feather duster. And while that sounds a little woo woo, the intention of it is to cleanse the energy, to release you from anything that is no longer yours. But the other suggestion that they often give, these angels give, is that you can also use water as a cleansing ritual. And so this can look like as soon as you wake up to take a warm shower with the intention of letting go of extra energy, and then doing the same thing at the end of the day, taking a warm shower to release you of any energy you may have picked up from other people. And so bookending your day with either a smoke cleansing ritual or a water cleansing ritual to again release you of the emotions, energy, and anxieties of other people so that you can actually attune to your own energy instead of being so open and so porous to everybody else. Now, the last thing that I will say that may define you as an earth angel or allow you to help identify yourself as an earth angel also has to do with you having not been here physically on the planet for a long time or ever. And this is that when you're up in the angelic realm or the spirit guide realm or any spiritual realm, so to speak, things manifest immediately. And so, what I mean by that, it's sort of like if you think it and you desire it, it appears instantly. Versus here on the planet, there's a little bit of a delay from the time we think that we want something to the amount of time it takes for it to actually come through. Now, I would argue that the more awake, the more enlightened, the more in tune soul can make this happen quickly, and it should. That is actually our natural state, is constant manifestation. However, sometimes when we come down to the earth plane, all of the time we choose amnesia, and sometimes we forget how powerful we really are. And so there is sometimes, because of this, a delay in how quickly something comes to fruition from the time we desire it and from the time we think of it or dream of it. And for an earth angel, this becomes quite frustrating. They tend to feel this sense of urgency, like I came down here to do something big, I think, right? Or I came down, I feel like I should, I have an idea and it hasn't gotten here yet. Why is it taking so long for this thing to manifest, for this thing to come through? And there's a level of frustration that they feel in a different way than, somebody who's kind of been here on the planet, who's used to things taking a little bit of time from the time you dream it up to the time it actually manifests. And so there's always sometimes kind of this sense of urgency and this sense of impatience that earth angels might have, that I'm dreaming of it and it's not coming up all of a sudden. Why not? I'm so used to it just manifesting instantly. This is also the case for a star seed, and we will talk about this in a different episode. But again, it's the case for any soul that maybe hasn't spent as much time here on the earth plane through reincarnations as, the typical soul, so to speak. And so this isn't always the case for an earth angel. It's definitely the case for a star seed. But if this is you, then again, you too might be an earth angel. So now, if you've identified yourself as an earth angel, what's the point? What's the point in knowing this, right? And I find it's really important for you to know why you're here. If you are an earth angel, you chose to come down here for a specific reason. Well, what is that specific reason? And there are a few blanket things that I experience when I channel for any earth angel that I would love to share every time we connect with their angel guides. This is what is shared for them. And so, first and foremost, when you are identified as an earth angel, you are, without even having to do anything about it, you are a healer. Okay? The angel guides will always say at the very beginning of a session, there is nothing that you need to do but simply be here present on the planet for you to be fulfilling your purpose. Why do they say this? Well, you have this beautiful angelic aura. You have this beautiful angel healing power that, whether you are doing it intentionally or not, you are constantly glowing out this beautiful golden white light aura that has healing properties. And so anybody who comes in contact with you, has literally been in your presence in any capacity, is receiving healing energy from just being around you. And so the angels always say to these earth angels, there is nothing more you need to do but simply exist. And you are fulfilling your purpose because your mere existence is offering healing energy to the collective in a really big way. And the reason this is the first thing their angel guide will say is because they want to remind them to take the pressure off themselves, to give themselves a big fat permission slip to say, I am already fulfilling my purpose just by being here. I am offering healing energy simply by existing. And usually, this ends up being a huge relief for the earth angel. For one reason being that, as I said, some of them feel this big sense of urgency. Like, I feel like I must be here for a big purpose, but I don't know what that is. And to find out that their presence is simply them fulfilling their purpose feels like they don't have to search for it so much anymore, that they are just a healer, and that their presence in anywhere that they sort of wander to or anything that they feel called to is them fulfilling a purpose. And their angel guide will always say that anything else that you pursue, anything else that you feel drawn to, is just icing on the cake. It just adds to the benefit that the rest of us are receiving from their presence. And so, again, this can be really relieving to know, like, I'm already fulfilling my purpose. Now I'm free to go and explore anything else that feels good to me, knowing that sort of that box has been checked. But the other reason it might be relieving is that some earth angels experience this feeling of everybody else seems to have this big meaning and this big purpose, and they're going after these big things. And I feel like I don't feel drawn to something big. I feel like I'm wandering and having a bit of an aimless existence. I don't feel super passionate about one specific thing. And I feel like I'm kind of just floating around here, floating through life, maybe jumping from one thing to the next. And it doesn't feel the same as what I witness everybody around me doing. And that's fairly typical for an earth angel, specifically one who has not been embodied on the planet before. So this is their first time here as a human being. And this being because your purpose is not only to be a healer, but just to experience what it's like to be here embodied on the planet, sometimes with the purpose of just reporting that experience back up to the angelic realm, so to speak. And so your only mission, quote unquote, is to just experience life. And you are meant to sort of float around and do what feels good and just go from thing to thing, or kind of have a little bit more of a aimless existence, I should say, or a less purpose driven existence, and one that's maybe more um, that leans more into the enjoyment of life. And knowing that whoever you sort of come in contact with, you're going to offer healing energy to, whether you do it consciously or not. So you're fulfilling your purpose. And then anything that you feel called to pursue, whether it be one thing that you stick to or lots of little things that just feel good, those are all you having a human experience. And so to lean into what lights you up, and that's really your purpose, is to lean into all of the things that you feel called to try. You may even be coming in sort of eyes wide open, kind of kid in a candy store, kind of an energy of, I've never been here before, let's try it all. And I don't want to pick one thing and stick to it because I want to try all of the things. And that too is very much part of your purpose, because you're simply here to experience what it feels like to be here on the planet, offering healing energy along the way regardless. So it does take a little bit of the pressure off, which is kind of nice. However, I will say that most earth angels, once they start, even when they do come to the realization that their presence is more than enough, they often feel called to sort of amplify their healing powers, their healing abilities, their healing energy, and feel called very strongly to become a healer of people in some way. And this can manifest in a lot of different ways. Some of them are drawn to being energy healers, so maybe they pursue Reiki healing or quantum healing. Others choose to heal on a more emotional level, so maybe they become therapists or what's it called? The people who do tapping, right? Like who or help unblock certain emotions that get stuck in the body, maybe trauma healing for others. And so, there's those type of healers. Maybe they feel called to healing people on a physical level. So they become, a doctor or a nutritionist or, anything that's sort of in the physical realm, a homeopath or functional medicine nutritionist, whatever it is, where again, they feel called to healing from a physical level. And a lot of the times it's kind of a combination of all of these things. And so, they kind of work to kind of hone in on these skills and offer healing in a more pointed way. And sometimes, and usually that is the case of an angel or an earth angel that maybe has fulfilled all of their lifetimes, gone up, and then choosing to come back down because they felt that their healing energy could be more potent if they were to sort of channel it into or harness it into one specific medium or modality. And so a lot of the times they will sort of seek out one of those modalities to build the skill on one of those modalities and offer it to people again in a more potent way. Another thing that earth angels might hone in on is that they too are highly intuitive. They've spent a lot of time in the angelic realm. They are very connected to the angelic realm. And so they too could have mediumship like powers, although I would argue that everybody does and everybody can tune in to their intuitive abilities. But perhaps it comes a little bit more easily or without effort, or something that needs to be developed for the earth angel. They just are tapped in. And so they may choose to use this as a healing modality that they offer to others, maybe work as a spiritual medium, psychic medium, what have you. And so oftentimes this is one of the things they tend to pursue or recognize about themselves. But other times, they just simply live their life and kind of do what they feel called to do, and knowing that, their presence is more than enough. And this is a really beautiful existence to have where it's sort of like my job is to just be present and knowing that anyone I am present with is receiving healing from my energy. And it really is such a beautiful purpose. And I always want to underline that. So there's one other topic or point of this earth angel kind of rhetoric that I would really like to underline, and that is the notion of angel babies. We hear this term sort of passed around a lot in the spiritual community, and I really want to define sort of what that means because all it is an earth angel who's in baby or child form, right? It's one who hasn't turned into an adult yet. So still an angelic soul who has come down. However, some of the traits that children will show, because they haven't had time to be socialized or conditioned in the same way that us adults have, some of their traits of showing that they're an earth angel are slightly more obvious or more apparent than an earth angel who's been, around for a few more years. And so, some people will describe an earth angel or an angel baby as one who um, can almost just like sense when somebody needs healing. And so they don't really have the breaks that maybe an adult would. When they sense that somebody needs healing energy, you will see this child kind of go up to whoever it is, whether they've met them or not, and kind of place their hands on them, offer them a hug, get very cuddly with them, even if they've never met the person, simply because they know intuitively that their angelic energy is going to offer healing to that individual. So they're a little bit more unencumbered in that respect. Angel babies also tend to be these types of babies where their aura is really apparent. And so this is the kind of person, if you're a parent who has an angel baby, right, people are constantly coming up to you. There's something about your baby. They're so smiley. They're so beautiful, right? They're just, people are constantly complimenting and telling you, how unique their particular baby is. So, usually a chance that you're having an angel baby if people are commenting on how smiley or glowy sort of your child is or your baby is. Um, and so those are kind of some of the bigger traits. The other thing that I will say that you will notice more in angel children or angel babies is that that impatience piece that we spoke about becomes more apparent. So that inability to kind of allow things to come through or have patience for things to come through is so obvious. They want something and they want it now, and they don't understand why something is taking so long to manifest. They thought about it. Why is their desire just not coming, appearing in that moment? And so they're a little less, or they're a little more obvious in their impatience for things to come through. The last thing I will say about angel babies is that there is one sort of side note about this, which is that when we talk about angels who've never been incarnated before and are deciding to come down through and become a human for the first time to experience life on this planet to offer healing energy, um, sometimes they find it a little challenging at first to stay in the physical form. And so sometimes when a mother is calling in a spirit and it's an angel baby who's chosen them as mother, sometimes it takes a few tries before that baby actually comes through and manifests. And this can look like sometimes, or be experienced sometimes, as multiple miscarriages before that baby is actually born. Now, there's so many reasons for miscarriages, and there's a beautiful book called Spirit Babies by Walter McKitchen. Um, that describes so many of the aspects of spirit babies, and I highly recommend reading this book. But he also does outline what happens if an angel baby has chosen you and if they're coming through you, if there's an angelic soul. And one of the things that he does outline and that I've noticed or witnessed in some of my clients is, if someone has had multiple miscarriages followed by a healthy baby, and this baby happens to be an angel baby, it was usually the same soul who was trying to come through. And for whatever reason, at first they, they're kind of like, okay, I'm going to experience it. And, they kind of chicken out last minute or kind of go, nope, not ready for this whole thing about being embodied. So they take a few tries. There are other cases where an angel will come through simply to experience the human experience, but only within utero. And so they kind of, for them, that's enough to experience the human experience or what it feels like to be embodied. And then they leave and allow another spirit to take over that body or come through, to come through that mother. And so sometimes the experience of a miscarriage could be, it was an angel who decided that, what, never mind, right? Or I've gotten my experience, and then the next baby that comes through is a very different soul. And so again, highly recommend reading the book by Walter McKitchen called Spirit Babies, that outlines this with a little bit more detail. But yeah, just something that I thought I should mention because, not to say that angels are fickle, because I don't think that they are. It's just sometimes the experience of in utero is enough. And so they've had the experience, they can then report back to the angelic realm, knowing that they sort of either offered the mother the healing that she needed or, had the experience they needed and then leave. Yeah. So all of this being said, this is everything that I sort of know about my experience with earth angels when I channel for them and for the children of people who are earth angels. And I think that if there's one thing that I can underline for you is that if you think you might be an earth angel, or that you know someone or have a child who is an earth angel, allow this podcast to give you a big fat permission slip to step away from the cultural expectation that you need to have a big mission and achieve really big goals in this lifetime. You are fulfilling your purpose simply by just being present and here on the planet, sharing your light. That's all. Anything else that you choose to do is simply icing on the cake. So take the pressure off of yourself. You are enough just as you are. Embrace it, own it, allow yourself to take the pressure off and float a little more gently through this life and your time here on the earth plane. Enjoy it and just spread your light, or, live life knowing that you are spreading your light, whether you're doing it intentionally or not. And it really is such a beautiful purpose to have. So that's all I have to say about earth angels and the angels that live among us. If you do fall under this category, or you think you know somebody who falls under this category, please send this episode their way. Send it to them so they too can get that big fat permission slip and start to feel some relief. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so that you never miss an episode. And if you like what you heard, please leave a 5-star review so that even more people can find this podcast. I can't wait to join you next week, where we will most likely go back to talking about intuitive development and the clairs. And I can't wait for you to join me then. Have a great week. Bye, guys.